You're hired. Two words everybody loves to hear. But before we hear these words comes the interview. Interviewing for a new job can be a huge source of stress and anxiety. And if you're interviewing for a job in a non-native language, the stress can be even higher. Let's begin.
Hello, Miss Smith. I'm Tom Kelly. Thanks so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for meeting with me.
Of course. Did you have any trouble finding the office?
Small talk. Most interviews will start out with a handshake and some small talk. This may include questions about how you're doing, your travel to the interview, the weather, how your weekend went, and more. Small talk is used to build a more comfortable environment before the interview begins. You can see we haven't said much of importance, but the conversation is friendly and open and can make two people feel more comfortable in each other's presence.
Hello, Miss Smith. I'm Tom Kelly. Thanks so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for meeting with me.
Of course. Did you have any trouble finding the office?
Nope, the directions on the website were great.
Good. Would you like some water or coffee before we begin?
I'm okay, thank you.
All right. So, to get started, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Common question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. It's very common for interviewers to simply ask you to tell them about yourself. That can feel overwhelming. But don't worry. What they really want you to focus on is your education and work history. You can also let them know what areas you have a lot of experience in or what your interests are when answering this question. The more you practice before the interview, the more comfortable you'll feel answering the questions during the interview.
So, to get started, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I studied at the University of Florida and graduated in 2010 with a master's degree in toy design. After graduation, I was hired at Happy Kids Creative. I've been there for the past 5 years and am currently the director of toy production. During that time, sales have grown steadily. It's been a great experience, but I've run out of room to grow with HKC and I'm looking for new opportunities. I have a lot of experience leading teams in the creative process and finding new markets for the products that we create.
That's great. Can you tell me how you heard about this position?
Can you tell me how you heard about this position? This is a common question that you'll hear in interviews. It's a chance to share a little bit about the research that you've done in order to learn about the position you're applying for. It's also a chance to share if someone from inside the company let you know about the position.
That's great. Can you tell me how you heard about this position?
Of course. A friend of mine saw the position on LinkedIn and forwarded it to me. So I spent some time on your website learning about the position and the company. I also read an article in Business Weekly about your work that got me really interested.
What attracted you to our company?
Common question. What attracted you to our company? This question gives you the opportunity to share what you know about the company and why you would like to work there.
What attracted you to our company?
To be honest, what really caught my eye was your focus on growth. I was really impressed with your ambitious goals and the clear plan you have for achieving those goals. I also like the support you provide your employees. I love your continuing education initiatives where you pay for employees to learn new techniques and skill sets. I think that really helps build employee satisfaction and loyalty.
Well, you've obviously done your homework. What would you say is your greatest strength?
Common question. What would you say is your greatest strength? This question gives you the chance to talk about what you do really well as an employee and as a person. You can share what your greatest strength is, then explain how that helps you in your current job or life.
What would you say is your greatest strength?
I would say my greatest strength is a combination of enthusiasm and persistence. My work ethic won't let me settle for less than my best. I'm able to persevere through challenges and setbacks without falling into frustration or anger. I've noticed that this tends to keep those around me in good spirits as well, which is a plus.
That's very good. Can you tell me about a time when you suffered a setback and had to maintain your enthusiasm?
Common question. Can you tell me about a time you suffered a setback and had to maintain your enthusiasm? The interviewer may ask questions like this to get a better sense of how you behave and perform in certain stressful situations. The question may be about your actual past experiences or a hypothetical situation to see how you would respond.
Can you tell me about a time when you suffered a setback and had to maintain your enthusiasm?
Sure, one definitely comes to mind. Last year, a project for a new toy was in its final stages after 2 years of work. As we were looking at the branding and working up a final marketing plan, a competitor launched a version of the exact same toy that we were launching. As the leader of the project, I knew that my reaction would set the tone for the group. I acknowledged that it was a setback, but challenged the group to think of this as a blessing in disguise. I asked them to go out and buy the competitor's product and make a list of anything they wished the toy could do that it didn't. It turned out that the list was pretty long. We added these items to our toy and launched a far superior product 6 months later. So in many ways, the competitor's product became the key to our success.
That sounds like a great victory. Now, what would you consider your greatest weakness?
Common question. What do you consider to be your greatest weakness? This question can be a tough one. You want to be as honest as possible when answering this question. This is an opportunity to show a future employer that you know yourself and are willing to work to improve yourself. Remember, the important thing is to show that you're aware of your weak spots and that you're already working at improving in these areas.
Now, what would you consider your greatest weakness?
Chocolate. Just kidding. No, my biggest weakness is public speaking. It's something that I've spent a lot of time working on and in which I've improved a great deal. I'm very comfortable in smaller meetings with my teams, but when I present an idea or concept to a larger audience, I still experience some stage fright. At this point, I can handle these situations professionally, but I would like to be more comfortable in these moments so I can really enjoy the experience of presenting rather than just survive it.
And fear of public speaking is a very common fear. I'm in the same boat on that one. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Common question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is a chance to share your goals for the future. You want to demonstrate that you understand what is realistically achievable over a certain period of time. You'll also be letting the interviewer know how ambitious you are with this answer. If you haven't thought about this question at all, it can be a great idea to think about this before your interview. Also, think about answers to 2 variations. Where do you see yourself in 1 year? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
As I mentioned before, I'm interested in growth. In 5 years, I would like to be part of a company growing its business on a regular and consistent basis. I'd like to be in a vice president position with a focus on development. And while I know that that would require much more public speaking, in 5 years, I plan on being ready for it.
Okay. Well, I have everything I need, but do you have any questions for me about the company or the position?
Common question. Do you have any questions for me? So far, the interview has been about whether or not you would be a good fit for the company. With the question, do you have any questions for me? It's your turn to find out if the company is a good fit for you. The questions you ask will also show how well you know their company and the requirements of the position. Before the interview, write down any questions you have about the position, the company, or the work environment.
Okay. Well, I have everything I need, but do you have any questions for me about the company or the position?
Yes. Imagine you're looking back on this hiring decision in a year. The person you hired has exceeded your expectations. What did he or she do that impressed you the most?
It's a great question. I think in 1 year, the person would have come in and spent some time learning from the team and people that have been here a while. Then she or he will begin making changes in an informed way. In 1 year, I want this person's team to be a well-oiled machine. I want them to be bouncing ideas off each other, coming up with new designs, and making headway into new markets.
That's helpful. It's good to know what the expectations are. Can you tell me a little bit about the team that I would be working with?
Sure. I believe all of them have been with the company for over 5 years and know the ropes. I would say there's a little bit of frustration currently because of our lack of growth. This will be the 3rd time we brought in a new team leader in 4 years.
Do you know what's causing that kind of rapid turnover?
To be honest, the last 3 team leaders have been hired from within the company. And sometimes it's hard to think outside the box when you've been inside the box for a while. We're hoping to bring in some new ideas and energy and get our development team back on track.
That makes sense. I really appreciate that you're considering me for the position. I'd love to be part of the company achieving its goals.
Very good. Okay, that's great. Thanks so much for coming in, Rachel. It's great to meet you. I'll give you a call in the next 3 days.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Thanks again.
My pleasure.
Notice that the interview ends with another handshake. You may have some more small talk at the end of the interview as well. Hopefully, by the end of the interview, you feel more comfortable and confident than you did when you arrived.